Alright, patch 1.5 of Zenless Zone Zero is here. That means a new character, and you know what that means. It's time to take a look at the most trusted tier list in the Zenless Zone Zero community, at least on the EN side of things, right? We're here again at pridewind.gg, taking a look at the Zenless Zone Zero tier list for patch 1.5, part 1 specifically, taking a look at the Shiyu Defense tier list. This is basically what we look at to find out the value of a character or power level of a character overall in Zenless Zone Zero. So we're here, of course, because of Astra Yao. And boy, oh boy, this character has it all, dude. They wanted players to play this patch, I'll tell you what, especially with the other character we got coming down the line, if you know what I'm saying. But Astra Yao, she's got it going on. She's got the looks, she's got incredible gameplay, and best of all, not only is she a strong character, she might be the best support character in the friggin' game. Because, bro, she's got heals. Hello? Hello, a healer in Zenless Zone Zero. Now I need to interrupt myself real quick here. Just because she has a heal doesn't mean she's actually going to end up using it, because let's be honest, with a support character like this, you're just not going to be pushing that button at optimal or like high level gameplay. Maybe if you're a little bit newer to the game or you need a little bit more survivability, she has that for you if you need it. But again, if you're playing optimally or a top level player, you're probably never going to use that heal. But again, it is there if you wanted to use it. Excuse me, what? I mean, sure, we had Caesar, right? Caesar King is an amazing character. Got buffs, you got debuffs, she's a hybrid, she can stun, she's got shields, she's a jack of all trades, and she doesn't suffer from being a jack of all trades. She's a powerhouse, right? But that's only one team, and in Shiyu Defense, you need two teams. And so we've been, kind of using characters like Nicole, characters like Lucy to kind of support Rena. Rena's doing really well. She basically kind of got a buff this last patch for 1.4, and she's sitting still here at tier 0.5. I think that's pretty good for her. Obviously, she got a bit of a buff when Yanagi came out, but nice to see us get another character to be able to use on either our first team or our second team with Astra Yao. Super duper strong support, super duper hot fire. She kind of reminds me of the Robin of like the Zenless Zone Zero world, because Robin was kind of like the celebrity, right? She's the singer, she's got like that aesthetic going on, and Astra Yao kind of gives me very similar vibes, right? She's the entertainer, she's like the celebrity, I guess you could say, of the roster that we currently have right now. And she, like Robin, came through hot, okay? Not just because, not, that fat, juicy butt she's got, but also because, she's also got, some pretty big booba. Anyways, that's not important. What's important is how strong she is in combat. She is incredibly powerful. She doesn't even need to be on field, like, a lot of the time in order for her to, like, get a ton out of her, which is very, very fun. And again, reminiscent of a character like Robin from Honkai's Star Rail. She doesn't even have to be doing much. She goes out there, busts the hell out of all your characters, and just sits there and looks pretty, literally on the field, just sitting there looking pretty while you're out there with your other characters doing a whole lot of stuff. It's a very, very fun character. I'm thoroughly pleased with this character. Now, one thing I really want to take note of here is that Astra Yao is an ether-based character. Now, call it power creep, call it whatever the heck you want. Before, all we had for that role was Nicole as a support ether character. So this is a really big deal to have her brought into the game, because a character like Zhuyan, for example, has been sort of missing that ether support. Now, you don't have to have an ether support with Zhuyan to make her very strong. Here she sits at 0.5, and she was at 0.5 before Astra Yao was even introduced. So you may see her perform even better than, we had in the previous patch as a result of a character like Astra Yao. And I want to point out as well that there has been some movement on the tier list as well. We'll cover that in a moment, but we're going to go over Astra Yao for right now. Again, you might see someone like Zhuyan move up, but I don't know if they're going to be able to move up high enough to take out Miyabi. Let's be honest, she's the queen right now of the DPS slot. That's just how it goes for the time being. And of course, you don't have to pair Astra Yao with Zhu Yuan if you don't want. It is one of her best teams, right? You have like a stun team with her, right? You have Zhu Yuan, and then you have a character like Jing Yi, who's also a very, very strong character as well. I mean, here she sits at tier 0, right? So very, very powerful team there. You could also sub out Zhu Yuan for a character that everybody has. Everyone got him for free. Harumasa, if I'm saying that name right. Now, he's not like, just because he's free doesn't mean he's bad, but he isn't like as strong as a character like Zhu Yuan. If we compare him to like Dr. Ratio from Honkai Star Rail, another character that we ended up getting for free who was a 5-star, Dr. Ratio was a more impactful character in the meta when he initially arrived. Even though the follow-up meta hadn't, hit its stride yet, you could run him without follow-up synergy and run a debuffer team and just lean into Dr. Ratio, and he was top tier, absolutely top tier. But again, just because he sits here at tier 1.5 by himself doesn't mean his team is bad. This is still a very strong team. You have to remember the elevation that you get from a character like Jing Yi and also Astra Yao is going to make his team with those characters top tier, like very, very strong. Okay, so don't think he's bad. He's just not the best option for her. So I wanted to also talk about some Anomaly teams here. You guessed it. Anomaly's very strong right now. We have Jane Doe, we have Bernice pairing together with Astra Yao to be able to make a very, very fun and powerful team. And dare I say, maybe the hottest team in the entire game. Hello, Jane Doe, that bodacious booty. Bernice White, do I have to say bodacious booty again? And then, oh, Jesus Christ, this is the butt team right here. We got the butt team going on. And I mean, wait a minute, Zhu Yuan was also a butt. Wait a minute, we got a boot. Jesus Christ, all her teams are super hot. And then, of course, we have like the spiciest team you could probably have Astra Yao on, which is Miyabi, of course, paired together with someone like Bernice White, or maybe somebody like Yanagi, and then, of course, Astra Yao. This team is correct. Like, yeah, sure, the Jane Doe Bernice team with Astra Yao is very, very powerful too, but bro, Miyabi, you're not going to beat her damage output right now. You're just not, so finding a support that works well like Yanagi or Bernice White, that's kind of like the glue that will hold the team together. But I mean, Jesus Christ, let's talk about Astra Yao's kit a little bit here. But first, let's briefly go over one reason why I kind of compared her to Robin, and that's because she pretty much just like pushes a button. Then she just sits there, looks pretty, and then you do stuff with the rest of your team while you're just buffed into oblivion with this chick. She is incredibly brain dead easy to use. A crippled person could do her rotation, bro. A paraplegic could do her rotation. Your cat could do her rotation, okay? Your dead grandpa could do her rotation. All you have to do is lift his hand, drop it on the keyboard, and hit one button, and then she gets to pop off. It's insane. So you start off with her. You crack her skill, right? Get all those buffs going, and then you kind of are immobile with her after that. You can move around and stare at her butt, but you don't want to do that. You want to switch to another character and start getting going with the rest of your other characters while you have that buff up. And so I guess one thing to remember with her is that she is incredibly easy to play. Not only is she really, really powerful, but like anybody could play her at top level play because she's so brain dead easy to use. Some of these other characters on here are easy to use, but I don't know, man, she might be the easiest to play. Like you just push a button and then you just walk away with your other characters and do stuff while she sits there and watches you do all the work. But she's buffing you the entire time. And so when you consider a character's value on a tier list, bro, she's already up here at tier 0 without factoring that in. The fact that basically anybody can use her at an optimal level makes her just that much better. And that pull value that she has, the pull value is insane. So if you're new to the game, or if you're like maybe not the greatest player of Zenless Zone Zero, this is the character for you and for anybody. Anyone could benefit from this character, but if you're kind of deciding on who you should pick in this game, this is the type of character you want because it's so low effort and you get so much out of her. So that is her placement on the list, tier 0, and she deserves it all. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the other characters that we had that kind of moved up or down here or there. Let's take a look at that. I did mention that last patch we saw Rina move up. I think that was a noteworthy move, like a character going up, with buffs like she's getting with Yanagi, but that was last patch. Let's talk about this patch. We have Piper here, who moved up and honestly should have been in this spot before, Like, a lot of people were talking about that, myself included. I didn't make a tier list video last patch because I was on hiatus, but this character is a lot stronger these days than they were on launch because of all of the different Anomaly synergy that we have, like Bernice White, you know, Jane Doe. Like, we have a bunch of very strong Anomaly characters. Dude, Miyabi, right? So when you are building an Anomaly team, if you don't have one of these high-powered characters like Miyabi or Jane Doe or something like that, you can sub in Piper, and everybody's probably got a Piper, right? Because she's been around since 1.0. Even if you don't have her at M6, you probably at least have her. So she does fit that role while you maybe try to find yourself another Anomaly DPS or something. But she does fit in, and she can clear as that main DPS on that team. So I think that, like, I wanted to definitely mention that because she was lower than she should have been, and it was like that for like a little while. So it's important to have seen this change and have her come up. Let's go ahead and get on Soldier 11 now. The issue with Soldier 11 is that, like, despite the fact that she was one of the most fun characters and actually best characters for DPS when the game launched, that was launch. Things have sort of changed since then, and it's not like she's getting worse necessarily. It's just that other characters are better right now. And so when you take a look at a character like Piper and all the synergy that she's getting with all the new Anomaly stuff that's been going on, she's not performing on her team as well as a team like Piper. Or when you look at Ellen, she's not as good as Ellen. You know what I mean? You have to consider things like that. If she's not performing as well as the other characters on tier 1, you can't really put her on tier 1, right? If it's close, sure, but it's noteworthy enough that it was deserving to bring her down here to tier 1.5. And I think I agree with that, right? That makes sense, you know, because she doesn't perform as well as these other characters. That's just the way it is. That's natural selection, I guess you could say. Less people are using her to clear as a result of that. Even with a character like Piper, which everyone has that's a 4-star, even though they have the 5-star Soldier 11, they'd probably rather be using Piper on an Anomaly team instead. And this is kind of like a perfect segue because we're on the same tier as Harumasa at 1.5. I want to talk about the fact that Pridewin has officially introduced the expert tag into their tier list right here. This wasn't here before, and that's because of Harumasa. This guy, which we all get for free, unfortunately, he's a little bit harder to play at a top tier level. So just be aware, despite the fact that he's here at tier 1.5, if you aren't playing him at an optimal level, you have no idea how to play the guy, you're just throwing random stuff out there, he's probably going to operate more like a tier 2 character, maybe somewhere in between tier 2 and 1.5. So keep that in mind. This placement that he has was with optimal gameplay in mind. So most players are not going to be playing at this level with him. Again, keep that in mind. Optimal gear, optimal teams, optimal rotations, and very good gameplay. That's what you need to get him here to tier 1.5. Which is, again, why they've added the expert tag to this tier list. And if we take a look here, and by the way, I didn't even realize that expert tag was there until I looked down to cover him next because I wanted to talk about him and his placement. But then I noticed this expert tag, and like I had a take where I was talking about this guy for like 2 minutes straight, and I didn't even notice this was here. And you might notice it's not on any other character as well. So Pridewin would consider him to be probably the toughest character to use at an optimal level on this entire list. Again, despite the fact he was free, just keep stuff like that in mind. It's unfortunate that he's the free character we get that is pretty darn good, but unfortunately a bit more difficult to use. And if he's kind of more like a lower tier character without that top tier gameplay, that's kind of unfortunate for, like, let's say free-to-play players or new players to the game who might not be able to achieve that. So you might be looking at someone more like Piper. I'd say Piper's probably the most free-to-play friendly DPS on this entire list, considering all of the Anomaly synergy you can get with other characters. So if you do happen to have some of those synergies, this is probably the most free-to-play friendly DPS in the game right now, I'd say. It's obviously, it depends on who you might get. You do get a lot of pulls when you first start the game, so maybe you get lucky enough to pull someone like Miyabi or, you know, Jane Doe, whatever, and of course pick up someone like Astra Yao. Again, if you're new to the game, I can't say enough good things about Astra Yao, brain dead easy to use, super powerful, and if you're a top tier player, I also recommend picking this character up because again, you need 2 supports at least to clear Shiyu defense, and in my opinion, you should probably, if you want to play as optimally as possible, you'd be using Caesar King or Astra Yao. Obviously, it's going to be team dependent, whatever team you have might want somebody else, but these 2 are pretty universally good. They work on basically any team. They're just so darn strong and reliable. And I think we all know that it's very important in a game like this to get like one really reliable support or like survivability style character. Lean into them very hard. And that way, when you're actually in combat, you can focus on your DPS with someone like Miyabi or, you know, someone like Jane Doe, etc., Zhu Yuan, you know, Yanagi, you get the picture. Anyways, that's all the changes to the tier list that we can go over right now. I know you're probably scrambling to get to Rule 34 videos so you can see if there's any new content on Astra Yao, so I'll let you guys go. If you like this kind of stuff, consider leaving a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.